Ladies, Fruit Flies, and Allies. I am Barrett, Laurie. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get into the live stream interview with the incomparable Victoria Wren, author of the YA debut novel Wild Spirit, The Curse of Win Adler, we're going to take care of a little bit of channel maintenance. If you all are new here on this channel, what we talk about is three things: books, reading and writing them, butt stuff, don't get it twisted, I'm talking about Crohn's disease. And last, we like to have some fun with the Gay Agenda video once per month and 2 Fantasy Fairy Book Club videos. If any of that sounds like fun to you, you are going to need to click that subscribe button and ding the bell. The bell gets you notifications every time I upload new content to the channel, which is 2 times like clockwork every single week. Also, I am a whole lot of things, but a mind reader is just not one of them. So if you enjoy this content, go ahead and click that like button and leave me a comment below, or better yet, get over in the live chat and ask some questions to Victoria. Get involved in the live event today. It's fun. If you're not already, head over to the socials. You're going to find me at Barrett_Laurie at Twitter and Instagram. Go ahead and give me a follow, and I look forward to engaging with you on the social platforms. I am so looking forward to today's interview. I flew through Wild Spirit, The Curse of Win Adler in 2 nights. It was so good. And we're not only talking about that, we're also talking about A Season of Darkness, which features 2 stories by Victoria Wren. It is a short story anthology by the Twisted 10. So we'll talk about that today as well. Let's get on to the interview.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome, Victoria Wren. We actually got to chat a little bit earlier, but we'll pretend like we're meeting for the first time. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it's nighttime here, but I'm just really looking forward to this. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm excited. Well, let's jump right in. I am going to check comments real quick because you already have some fans that are here loving on you. This one you know well. Richard.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Richard.
Yeah, and another one.
Hello. Hello, Day. Hello. Oh, it's she's so lovely. Day Shepherd on Instagram. She's been such a lovely person to meet while I've been doing this. Everyone should go and follow her. She's amazing.
I'll have to go check her out. So what's her? Oh, and DL Stewart. Hey DL, there you are. So what's Day's handle on Instagram? Do you know?
I think it's. Oh, good.
Or I'll have Day drop it in live chat.
Yeah, it's. I think it's at Day Shepherd author. I think that's
cool.
What it is.
All right, and Day, drop it in the chat, and I will go follow you and find you as well. Okay, everybody, how is everyone doing? We are going to do our typical format. I'm going to take just a second to lay it out for anybody who's new here. So the first hour is all me. I ask all my burning questions of Victoria that she knows a little bit about because I sent her the outline in advance. Then the next 15 minutes is for rapid fire questions. This is the only part Victoria is not keen to because I do not share them with the guests ahead of time, but they're simple, kind of get to know you questions where I want the shortest answer possible. First thing that pops off your mind.
I'll try.
And then the last half hour, 45 minutes, I turn it back over to live chat, and anyone in live chat that wants to ask any additional questions, that is your time to shine. So throw it out there and we will get those questions. And if you have to leave or whatever, drop your question in the chat and I'll go find it and pull it up after you're gone. So those are the rules. Day, there is your handle so we can all find you. The last thing I'm going to say is just a little bit of housekeeping in the live chat. You are welcome as long as you are nice to everybody. So the moment you're not nice, I'm going to boot you. So that's it. So all right, Victoria, are you ready to get started on the fun stuff?
Yes, thank you. I am ready.
Well, so let's start with the backstory of Victoria. So tell me whatever you're comfortable sharing about you, your family, and your life outside of writing.
So I'm from Essex in England, which is about an hour outside of London. I've written since I was, I don't know, about 11 years old. I've always loved writing. But my main job, which is completely different to this, is I actually am a makeup artist and I work in the wedding industry. And I've had my own business for about 10 years, but I've been doing the job for about 20, working with brides and, mothers of the brides, everything, photo shoots. But I've got 2 children. I've been married for 12 years.
Yay.
Yeah, loads of things. Yep, that's kind of really it. And we just, obviously in the start of the pandemic, everything, obviously my job was very much, it was a mapped out year because I worked in the wedding industry. So everything was booked, and then it kind of all just went overnight. And it's a business I've had since, you know, since my daughter was born. I've worked really hard to kind of, you know, build it up. And it was, you know, writing was kind of a way just to kind of focus my mind and, you know, take me out of the, you know, just a little bit of therapy really. And it was just highly enjoyable, really nice to be able to do that whilst I was homeschooling the girls as well, because they were off as well. Yeah.
Well, and I want to go back and ask this a little later when we get to the talk about Wild Spirit. But so was Wild Spirit an idea you had before, or is this something you truly wrote during the pandemic?
It was, I definitely wrote this during the pandemic. The whole thing came about during the pandemic. So I started this time.
I'm even more impressed now than I was before.
Yeah, well, the character was always there. It was something that I had started on several occasions. I'd started to write something about this particular character of Win, and it just never worked. It never felt right. And when everything went, you know, to the wall, it was just so freeing to be able to say, oh my goodness, I can actually sit down and really think about this and just kind of focus on that for a while rather than everything else that was going on. And the isolation and everything. And yeah, so it kind of came about from there, really.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to come back to that later when we get to that part of the chit chat, but I'll go. But first of all, wow, mad props. We'll circle back on that later. So how long have you been writing? You said you've kind of always written. Do you remember your first completed story?
I think, oh my goodness, it was probably when I was about 11 or 12. I wrote like short stories. I was thinking about this earlier because obviously you have asked me already, and I wrote something called The Runaway when I was about 12, and it was just such a lovely thing. It was just like a quite dark actually for a 12-year-old to write about this girl who has a terrible life and she runs away from home. And then I did write my first full novel. I wrote when I was in my early 20s, and after my granddad passed away, again, it was kind of like a therapy thing, and I wrote like a really full romance novel, which will never see the light of day. It will never be seen. It needs to be so edited and rewritten, but it was just a way to kind of get me through something, really, I suppose, just to deal with, you know, emotions and things I was feeling at the time. But that's why I like it. It's just a way to sort of check out and just concentrate on something a bit more fun. Yeah.
Do you have any of those stories from when you were younger?
Oh, I think they're in the loft somewhere. I think I kept them.
You could dig them out if you ever wanted to, because that'd be kind of fascinating. That's one thing I regret about some of my childhood stories is they've been lost, you know, through moves throughout time. And I always think I had some of those, even though I know they're probably terrible. I'd still just probably love to read them.
It's there, is it? I think there must be somewhere. I dread to think. They're probably buried upstairs in the loft, but I don't know. My husband may have chucked them out. I hope he hasn't.
Well, Richard Holiday wants to read your romance novel, so there's that.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh God, no!
Never say never. I mean, 2020 taught us anything. It's never say never. So
yeah, that's true.
You never know. So, what inspired you to become a published author?
Well, it just didn't. I suppose really after starting the process of writing Wild Spirit, I kind of fell down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole, and I was, you know, watching all the content that's out there, and you know, I joined the Discord group, and I was sort of thinking this actually could be a thing. It could actually, I could actually do this. It could be, you know, really fun and see how it goes. And yeah, it just, I think I like the idea of self-publishing and being an indie author because I like that control and over the whole process. And I just thought it'd be a good thing to do. And yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, mad props that you made that entire amazing story in a year. We're still circling back to that later. So what books would you say you read throughout your life that had the biggest impact on you as a writer? More specifically, like
since you and I are both adults, we write in the same category, which I love, finally having somebody in the group who's like writing to kids. But so do you find yourself reading some more in YA, knowing that you're writing that direction? So 2 questions. So your book that kind of impacted you, and then do you find yourself reading more in YA now that you're writing in the space?
I think the book that impacted me really as a child, well, not as a child, but that really made an impression on me, I think was probably one I read when I was about 14 in our English literature class, which you'll know is To Kill a Mockingbird. And that was one that I just absolutely loved. And I read it probably about, I mean, maybe every year. I always come back to it. I just love it. There's always something new. And I love that whole aspect of childhood and the memories. And it really resonated with me. You know, I don't know why, really. I just loved it so much, and the themes. It's really relevant still today. And but now, yes, I do read more YA now. I've been reading a lot more indie authors YA, and I've found 2 recently that've been fantastic. But also the authors that I kind of grew up with when I was reading that genre. I don't know, like R.L. Stine and L.J. Smith, and I'm talking like Point Horror years ago when I remember picking those up and thinking, oh, these are just amazing. And
Me too.
I love those nostalgic, those 80s.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Really cool. And I just love those. And I think, I just really enjoy them, and I still would enjoy them. I think they're so creative.
Me too. Me too. I always say it's, you know, the thing about reading down is I can read more because they're shorter.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can get through more middle grade and YA stuff because there's pages. So we're going to talk about this a little bit in craft, but I'm just going to dabble in it now because you just mentioned it a little bit. But so I had mentioned to you with like a nod and a wink that I love that you wrote your YA in 3rd person, because a lot of YA, especially really since kind of the mid 2000s onward, has been almost exclusively written in 1st person. And obviously I'm not biased because I did the same thing you did and think that's amazing and wonderful and we're great. But so what kind of and again, when I think back on R.L. Stine and some of those stories, a lot of them are written from 3rd person, even though they fit in the category today. So there was a shift there where that kind of changed. So do you think that part of the reason you leaned into that for your perspective, your POV for your Curse of Win Adler, is that where that comes from? Or was that a conscious decision just based on the plotting of the story?
I've just always felt really comfortable writing in 3rd person. I think there's no real reason why I do it. I just feel like I'm kind of omnipresent almost. If you're sort of in 3rd person, that you're seeing it from all aspects. I don't really know why, but that's just kind of what I grew up reading, and that's what I loved. It's what I prefer to read. If I'm being honest, I prefer reading it in 3rd person. So that's just how I've always done it. There's just I find
1st person is really limiting for me as a reader because I have to like that character.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like there isn't as much room to make your protagonist not lovable because you're in their head. So if you're telling me the whole story and I think you suck, I'm gonna have a hard time getting through that book.
Yeah. So, and being in that person's head, you are still in that person's head in 3rd person, but it's just more intense in 1st. So it's just the way I've always preferred it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we'll get back to that when we get into the craft. I'm the one breaking my wonderful outline that I spent time on. Whatever. I had to ask while it was fresh. So what authors would you want to be compared to? If you could be compared to anybody, who would you want to be compared to?
Honestly, I think it would be like an honor to be compared to, well, most published authors. I mean, again, the ones that I grew up reading, like L.J. Smith, who wrote the Vampire Diaries and the Night World series and Secrets. I love those books, and I think to be kind of thought about in those along that kind of category would be amazing. I would love that. But yeah, that would be the kind of author I'd love to be compared to, something that writes nostalgic type of YAs that, you know, that lean back to that time.
Yeah.
All
right, well, cool. So we're through about. So we're going to move now to your most recent release, and then we're going to end cap with our novel. So your most recent release that you were featured on is A Season of Darkness. So
Yes.
really quickly, give us kind of the background. I know it because I watched your all's book launch, but kind of give everybody a quick, like, how this came about, because it's 10 different authors. Am I right about that?
Yeah, so it's 10 different authors. We're all spread across like the UK, US and Australia, and Ireland as well, all as in Ireland. And you have, it was just a kind of, it came about from a Discord chat, and we just all decided to put together our most weird and wonderful stories in this collection of just things that we, you know, we'd written and we thought were really creepy or weird and wouldn't really fit anywhere, but we just kind of put it together in this anthology. And it was just a really amazing experience working with everyone, because we got to beta read for each other and edit for each other and and we'd not met before, you know, none of us had met each other. We just knew each other through Discord. So it was a real learning
I mean, the
experience.
amount of faith, you know, again, I know a lot of you from being on the outskirts of Kent and Bethany's like tribe. But so I know every player just from watching, but I don't really know everybody really well. There's a lot of faith that you have to put in people you don't know with your written work. So
Yeah. And I had never really done that before. I had not been in like a writing circle, or, you know, it was just kind of putting it out there. And the two of the stories that I wrote, well, the one story I wrote was originally for Kent's competition, which I won't say the full title because it's too long, but I entered that in his competition, and then it turned out that that would have worked really well in the anthology, and a couple of us did that. We had written for the competition, and it just seemed it was the right thing to do to pop it into the book. But yeah, it was a really good experience because we just all got to know each other really well, and you know, and having those different opinions and seeing your work through their eyes it was definitely a great experience. Yeah, I loved it.
I mean, I think that's really powerful. I think that's the power of a great writing group. Okay, so let's talk about the story. So I'm going to start. I flipped them because Knock Knock actually left me creeped out a little longer than Ironheart. So I put it last. So because I like to save the best for last. So in my little heart, I loved Knock Knock. I loved them both. They're amazing stories. So Ironheart, it's, as I said in my note to you, that the story is beautiful in prose, but tragic in plot. So what inspired it? Like, where did this come from?
It was again, it's a bit bizarre, really. Because we were in lockdown, and I knew this. I was going to write something for this anthology. I was watching this TV series with my daughter. You might have heard of it. It's called Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
They take tales and they twist them. It's very Disney-esque, but they kind of turn them on their head. And I just kind of thought I would really like to write a fairy tale, like a cautionary tale. So it has got a different tone to it. It is more like you're being told a story. And I kind of got the idea about wishes, and then this queen that, you know, she's this selfish girl that wants everything and wants it now, and you know, and I just kind of went through that kind of a Rumpelstiltskin type wishes and a bit magical. But then I said it in Iceland with, you know, with the elves, and so it just went a bit bizarre. But I love Vikings and that kind of vibe, and dark and foreboding. So that's kind of where I got that idea from. It's a bit bizarre.
I love Bizarre. I thought it was a great story. I loved it. Yeah. So Brenna, to me, felt, as I said in my note, real and three-dimensional. So what process do you go through when you're developing your characters, specifically Brenna for this story?
It was just really an idea of a vision of this young girl, like that child that wants everything but doesn't want to wait, doesn't want to work for it, wants it now with the click of her fingers. And really it kind of built from there, really, and how she went through the realization that once she got everything that she wanted, it was never going to be enough. There was always one more thing, which is, in life, really, I suppose you always want more. Grass is always greener. But really that's kind of where it came from. It was just building her and kind of building in her insecurities into that as well. And I did a thing with her hair that I don't want to spoil it, actually. I'm not going to go too mad, but
don't do any spoilers. I always want people to go buy it. So yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of, it was just a gradual building on that kind of, the idea of a little girl that wants to have it all now, really.
So when you're building on it, is that in subsequent drafts, or is that something you're actually plotting out like ahead of your first kind of draft?
I think because with that particular story, when I first drafted it and I put it onto for the guys to read it, it was slightly passive because I was telling a story rather than showing the story. So it was through subsequent drafts. It kind of came in. I built it up and you know, as much as I could. And yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
Loved it. Okay, so then let me ask you this. When you outline, so would you say you plot, or do you say you pants your short fiction?
Short fiction, I tend to pants a little bit, actually.
I love that.
Yeah, I do. And then once I've written it, once I've done the draft, then I go back and think, right, okay, like, let's just kind of, you know, refine it a little bit. Yeah, tinker with it, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you saying something else?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. Well, so Ironheart, I loved. I don't want to talk too much more about it because, again, that's one where the reveal is, we don't want to give it away. So we'll just leave it where we've talked about it. Ironheart's a lovely story, but I'm glad to know the Once Upon a Time, because that makes so much sense to me, because I did think it was kind of fairy tale-esque.
Yes.
And it was so different from Knock Knock. I mean, they were very different stories.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was interested in where that came from. So
yes.
It's
bizarre where things come from. Just watching that TV show.
Hey, I mean, I love that show. I was obsessed with that one. So let's talk about Knock Knock. Okay. So the story was super spooky. And I said in my note to you that it felt very personal as a reader.
Yeah.
So what inspired Knock Knock?
Well, I don't know if you
tell me that you're an insert in this story, that this happened at some point in your life and you were like,
I'm not an insert. No. But it did happen it's a story that I know 70% of it happened. My mum is, you know, not in the same place that little Mary is in that story, but it's a story that I grew up with because, and again, when I came to write for the competition, for Kent's competition, I just kind of wanted to write a traditional ghost story. And I thought about what experiences I had, and I, you know, living in rural Essex, and I grew up in like a 400-year-old house, and we had lots of weird stuff that went on, whether you believe in that or not. It was weird stuff went on. But this story did happen to my mum. She grew up in London in a block of flats with her mum and dad, and it was something that she used to tell me, and it used to scare the life out of me. Like, she said that it used to be this knocking, this instant that would start, and she would lay there just sweating, just having to listen to it, and nobody else could hear it until later on. My granddad did eventually hear it. But so I just thought I wanted to write about that. It was just the most natural thing, and it is. So that's probably why it felt personal, because it did happen.
And that makes sense, because it really, as a reader, it felt very lived, like a lived experience, right? So it didn't. So that dovetails into my next question, which is, we could sense Mary's grief and felt her anxiety building as the piece goes on. Did you layer added tension with subsequent drafts, or was it in your earliest drafts of the story?
I think it might have. I think it was in the early drafts, because again, it was for the competition. So I really I wanted it to be really memorable, and that it left you feeling really unsettled, as she must have done going through that. So it was definitely there, I think, in the early drafts. But then I think when we all looked at each other's work, there was definitely more added in, and more tension, and you know, about the clock ticking, and then listening into the clock all the time, and the same time of night. And yeah, it's just a creepy story.
It was such a great opener too for the anthology. It was, you know, being a story was a great. It kind of set the tone, and it was quite the tone.
Good, good. There's some amazing stories in there.
For sure. Yes, definitely. I enjoyed that one. And I'm not really a horror reader, so I'm not quite sure how I ended up surrounded by people who love horror. And I'm loving it. So far, they've been great stories, but it's just not my normal go-to. So it's like finding a new friend. Okay, so the level of suspense throughout the piece was pitch perfect. Do you think you will write in suspense, thriller, or even horror in the future?
I think suspense, yes. I think maybe suspense and thriller, but maybe not full horror. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like you say, never say never. You just don't know. If an idea came to me, maybe I would. I have an idea for another YA series, which would be more of a thriller series. But horror, I don't know. Maybe that might be a little bit. I just like combining them all, really. That's why I loved the point horror books and all those books as a kid, because you had elements of all those things.
Right. I always thought, especially with like the Goosebumps stories, because I read pretty much all of R.L. Stein's stuff I was all about. But what I've always said about those is they were written young enough that the horror is really mild. It's really more of the suspense, the thrill, the things that go bump in the night are more of what's supposed to scare you than like gore and guts and like Stephen King older adult horror, right? So
it's what you can't see, isn't it? And what is suggested and how that makes you feel. Definitely, just things that are subtle. Definitely.
Yes. Here's Richard Holiday. Horror is great for indulging your darkest fantasies. Yes, believe it, Richard. And a friend of mine, Supervillain Nova. Welcome. Okie doke. So let's get back to our next topic, which I've got to switch my little banner here. It is time to talk Wild Spirit, the Curse of Win Adler. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So how did this story come about? And when I'm asking that, I mean a little more specifically the setting, because you are across the pond, and yet this story is set in my neck of the woods up in the, well, not really the Northeast, but my country. So run with it. How did this come about?
I mean, I love the visiting the States. I must admit I haven't visited that part of the States, but I just think I was like, if I'm going to set a YA novel, it's so much cooler. It's much cooler over there than it is here. I just thought it would be a bit more fun to kind of set it in America. But yeah, that kind of sleepy, out of the way town that's really like
Sleepy Hollow vibes is what it gave me. It was very
I love Sleepy Hollow. That's definitely that kind of, where everyone knows each other and everyone's kind of connected, and there's this person hates this person, and there's always a feud going on, which is kind of similar to the towns that I grew up with around here, actually. But yeah, I love that kind of, especially like the Salem vibes and with witchcraft and the folklore that it's just so dark. There's such darkness there. So I kind of got the idea that I wanted to write about this family that lived in this town, and about the girl that is kind of having to go through these, really kind of intense changes in her body and mind, and what's causing them, and just kind of coming to terms with sort of family issues as well. And I just really enjoyed writing it. It was just a bit of something that was escapism as well, and a bit cozy that you could really sit down and get into. But the idea for Win, again, like I said before, she came a lot earlier. I wanted to write obviously about a teenage girl, but with the going through this physical transformation, which I wanted to be quite visceral, and like it was like you could go through it with her. So it wasn't just like, she's just going to change.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give anything away because I like these to be spoiler free, but there is a scene probably midway through, maybe 2/3 through, where we see the first transformation happen.
Yes.
And that was a brutal 2 paragraphs. Like,
yeah. So good, I'm glad.
It tails into what Bethany said, which is so true. Victoria is so sweet and yet writes some dark stuff. See, I would have changed the stuff to that was some dark shit. I mean, it was dark. I liked it. So I love that idea. You know, I don't think I made a connection to this, and I don't know if it was intentional, but how brilliant to do a shifter story, and with the idea of talking about the change, the body changing for a YA reader, when that makes perfect sense, because most of our readers are still changing and growing into like who they're going to become.
Exactly. You're already feeling like most teenagers already feel like outcasts anyway. They don't feel like anybody gets them or understands them, let alone having a huge secret that's actually physically going to happen to you. And I wanted her to start the story as quite an isolated character, because she had lost through this. It kind of manifests as an illness. She thinks it's just a strange, mysterious illness that she has.
Right.
And she's kind of going through that alone. And, you know, teenagers do get illnesses as well, that they often isolate them from their friends, and, you know, get the wrong idea about them. And they, you know, it was like a new start for her to come back to her sort of family home. And obviously once she does get back, it ramps up. So yeah, that is the sort of connection. You already are, as a teenager, going through all this, you know, explosive stuff as it is, hormones in your body, let alone this as well.
Yeah,
and
I love that. That's brilliant.
And I wanted it to be quite, like you say, brutal. I kind of wanted that, really. I didn't mean to upset any. I don't want to upset
No, you
anyone.
don't upset it. It's not upsetting. It's just I love those kinds of stories. I mean, the thing I always tell people is the goal of writing is to make me feel something.
Yeah.
So I don't really care what that feeling is. That's up to you as the storyteller to give me that feeling. But and I like when that feeling is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah. I mean, I love this, but reading that was, again, and that speaks to your writing itself. Just that you're really, really good at the show, and that was a very show section and brilliantly done. And I don't think we can talk about it because I do think it's a spoiler. So
yeah, it is.
You gotta read it, people. You gotta at least read through half to get there. Okay, so let me ask you this. So we kind of touched on this, but. So when you came up with the story, did you always know, because you could have a young character and still write an adult story. And I think there are lots of opportunities for this story to have even been an adult story. Was there a conscious decision for it to be written for younger readers?
I think so, yeah, because it's just how I kind of envisioned it going. I like writing for younger people, like, just, you know, for teenagers. And I think it was more of a nostalgic thing. I wanted to write something that I would have loved to have read when I was that age, and, you know, so that it speaks to them, like you said, about the changes that they go through and feeling isolated. Yeah, definitely. I think it was. You are right. It probably could have gone more adult. I
think it's perfect. I mean, definitely. Believe me, I don't think there was anything that didn't. I just, as I read it, I thought you could have probably told this, even, and still have the characters the same age, but had it have been written more for an adult story. But I loved it as a young adult. I think we need more young adult stories like that. And especially in the shifter space, which is my next question. So were you a reader of shifter fiction before? Was shifter fiction something that drew you in?
Do you know, no, I haven't read all, apart from the kind of obvious ones, like, you know, the Twilight novels, which I did read those, and which has elements, there is that, it's not all shifter, and also the ones that I read, it wasn't something that I'm really like passionate about. I was like, I wanted it to be more about all animals rather than just it being wolves. There is a wolf, but, you know, they're about it being all animals. Yeah, I just when I first started this, it wasn't any conscious decision that I'm going to write it like this. It was just purely for myself. I'm writing this for myself and see where it goes, and that's what came from it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, mad props. So how many books will there be in the series when it's complete?
I think 5. I think, yeah, it's going to be about 5. There are 3 written. So at the moment, I've just finished the third, and the fourth I'm gonna just have a little break. I think I'm just gonna have a little rest for a while and just see what the feedback is for the third. I know how I want it to end, and I know exactly how I want, where all the characters are going to be and how they're going to end, and what their outcome will be. But at the moment, I just kind of want to see how everything falls into place and how people enjoy it. Really, if people enjoy it.
There were Twilight vibes, but this was so much better accomplished. Twilight wishes it was as good as Wild Spirit. I 100% agree with this, and I'm going to go ahead and two things that I loved about your series that I think Twilight. First of all, I don't love the Twilight books, but I'm glad no one asked me for that opinion. But I'll just say they weren't that great. But the Twilight books could have been half as long, or half of what they were. Like, I could have gotten that story in half the words if somebody would have let me edit Stephanie Meyer. We also wouldn't have jumped POVs as much, which again, that's where your craft, and I agree with Richard on this, was solid throughout. I didn't have POV jumps like Stephanie Meyer tends to do. Again, you didn't have the limitation of first-person narrative where you're watching the whole story through Bella's eyes, which gave you more freedom to tell us more, especially about backstory, which I think makes the feud aspect of your story pop off the page so much more. That you were kind of able to lay more ground with that third-person narrative. So I agree with Richard on that one. It was mad props to that on the story. Okay, next question. You have 5 books planned, 3 completed. This one published in December of 20. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Cool.
1st of December, yeah.
So on your, I loved the cover art, stunning. I saw either, I don't know if you sent it to me. I don't think so, because I have the short story cover, but somewhere I saw the cover for book 2.
Oh my God, did you? I don't know. I don't think I've released that yet. Oh,
no. Because I thought I saw the tail. It's the tail, right? The tail of.
Right. So no, the tail of the tail, that was the original working title of the first book.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I changed it because I just thought it gave the whole thing away. I was like, I mean, although I did get a few, like, I told people and they were like, do you know you've spelt tail wrong? And I said, no, it's meant to be
on purpose.
They were like, oh yeah, but it was so in the
American by chance.
I think it might. I don't know. I think it was one of my friends over here, and he was like, I think you got it wrong. But I put it out to my beta readers, and I think a couple of them said, I'm going to guess what this is about straight away. So I was like, okay, no, and it was just easy. The curse, the tail, it was pretty easy to change it. But that was always the working title, and I had such trouble getting that title. I just could not get a title.
I still don't have a title, so I feel your pain.
I don't know why. The other 2 I've titled, no problem at all. I don't know what it was with this one. I just could not sort my head out for it. It's weird.
So you said you pantsed your short fiction. How about novels? Are they plotted, pantsed, or plantsed?
Plantsed.
This is a great way to say that word.
It starts. Yeah, it's a mix. So in the for the first one, because it was never something that I had, it wasn't something I had planned to do. I just sort of sat down, and about 3 to 4 chapters in, I was like, right, okay, this is taking shape now. It's going somewhere. I'm gonna sit down and actually plot the rest of this out. Otherwise, I'm going to go all over the place. And then I like to start with not a real set kind of sort of story, so that I can see how it goes, see how it builds, and then I can go back and edit it afterwards. And then I start to plan out the rest of the novel, so I know exactly how it's going to end, where all the plot points kind of come in, and then I go back and I strengthen up the first few or the first couple of chapters, just so it all fits and it all flows. Yeah, I know. I feel a bit fraudulent, really. I'm not.
I think that's a writer thing. I think
I didn't know what the hero's journey was until I met Ken. I didn't know. It's really bad. I didn't know what the hero's journey was. I was not you know, I had never read any of these things. It kind of came naturally, really. But yeah. I do now. I've read it all now. I've been schooled.
Yeah, you've learned. You know now.
Yes, I do.
Well, so before we get into specifics about the book, is there a character that's your favorite?
Oh, I love them all. I love Luke. I love him. And the thing is, you've only read the first one, so you don't know what's happening. There's so much more to come, and he's definitely I've got a real soft spot for him. And I wrote him as being this probably quite tropey bad boy that bit cold and aloof, but in the end he's got a heart of gold. And I probably did do that. I admit that I did that. But then I wanted him to be, actually, he's quite a flawed character, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And in the second and third books, he's got a lot more to come. And I've got a real soft spot for him. I love him as well.
Aphrodite says she's following you on Amazon. Can't wait to read the book.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, let's dig in to the book. So who is Win Adler and what makes her special?
Who is Win Adler? So she's a 16-year-old redhead, and she is going through this really strange mystery illness that came out of nowhere. It kind of shattered her life. She was a high-achieving student in a private school in Boston, and then she just couldn't function anymore. And she goes back to recover with her family, and her sister and grandpa are already there. They already live away from her. And it's just, she's quite I think she's definitely, I've not got a self-insert. I've not self-inserted into her, but she's definitely quite a gentle character, but she has got a temper. She's got a lot of spirit, and she's quite feisty, but she's also really kind as well, and she sees the best in people. So she's a good character. I like writing for her.
Well, real quick, I'm going to throw this up because I agree with Day on this one. Mine was Ella, so I loved her best friend.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. I also loved that you had her, and this gets me off of my outline again. What I loved about Ella was, and I tried to do this with a character in my story, is to not write the stereotypical, like, perfectly fit, to write the somewhat flawed, body conscious character, right? Yeah. Because there is nothing to, at least in my teenage experience, that would have been more real than Ella's world.
Yes. Yeah.
So brilliant.
It's not, I think I just wanted to write a character that was just, healthy, and, she just enjoys life, and she is a curvier girl, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just her. That's her. She loves her food. She's just a really sweet character, and she's really accepting of Win and kind of welcomes her in, and she's also quite a lonely character as well, so they kind of come together. But yeah, that was my experience growing up. I had all my best friends were very, very tall and slim, and I was always the curvy one of the group.
Me too. I was always the one that was gluttony. Would have been my stand if I'd have been. Yes. That would have been where I'd have landed on that. So we Bethany said she also loved Rowan. That was great, and she thought that you balanced Win really well. She wasn't a Mary Sue by any means, which I agree with that. I think all of those are really true. So skipping over the setting question I'd sent you in this section, because we kind of talked about that. Let's talk about the animal choices. So I don't want to give anything away, but I am going to say what I loved about your story. I haven't read a lot of shifter fiction outside of romance. And again, I talked on Adrian's show about gay romance. I don't know who's buying it. I have an entire shelf of shifter gay fiction that's romance. But those stories are very like one animal throughout. And I loved that your story doesn't do that. So where did that come from? Like, that to me was really new and different for a shifter fiction, for the animals for there to be multiple animals.
Yeah. I think you know, it's just more interesting to write, you know, about, you know, with different species of animals, they've all got different traits and different attributes and personalities, and I wanted it to, that almost sometimes the animal that they are, without giving anything away, kind of reflects their personality a little bit as well, and how they would look and how they would act. And I just wanted to be more varied. I just thought it was fun, and I love animals as well, so it was quite nice just to be able to sort of think about those, like different kinds of animals, and obviously without giving away what Win is. I won't give that away, but there is a wolf in there, and how it's kind of, he's an older character, and he's a more grumpy and, you know, roughly, yeah. And I just kind of I just wanted the variation of all the different kind of animals in there. Like you've got your predators, you know, your predator kind of animals, and then you also, there's the prey as well. You've also got the weaker aspects, just because, you know, they can't all be powerful, and, you know, like predators and with fangs, you know, some of them might be little, you know, little tiny animals, or, you know, or foxes, or something really small. So that was quite good. I just enjoyed that.
I love it. I loved it. And I think something else about the story that I loved, that again, and it's probably because I was reading, you know, romance, shifter fiction, don't judge me. But for your story, one of the things I loved that I really haven't, I've only seen in a couple of stories and not done as in depth, was, so part of your backstory goes into some of Win's family, that, so we've kind of given away the one thing that they're a shifter family. So you can kind of assume that. And I think if you read the blurb, you're going to get that.
Yeah, yes, that's fine.
But so let's talk about her family a little bit. One of the things about this story that was like, I can't believe no one's thought of this before, was the taxidermy element.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, good. This is, by the way, whenever you read my review on Amazon, you'll see all of these points, because these were the things I think it takes a couple days to post because I wrote it yesterday. But anyway, but I haven't seen it because I went and looked today to see if it had popped up. But I loved that taxidermy part of the like family lore. Away what that is, the reader's going to have to read it to figure it out. But like, where did that come from? Because what a great way to give that backstory, the history, right, of these people. Like, where did that come from?
I don't know. It just kind of pops into my head. I think it was just, you know, I wanted it to be quite dark, and I thought, what's more disturbing and darker than, you know, these people that obviously they get kind of trapped as they are, or try not to spoil it, but it's kind of being, and then locked away. Yeah, it was just kind of something that dark. I thought, how can you make it more disturbing? I know.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. Let me say, and again, we're not going to give it away, but I'm going to just tell you, because it's kind of like Kent's story, Something Missing from Evil Growth Dark. I'm not a person to have stuffed animals around my house, but the next time I go to my aunt and uncle's house where they have a taxidermy, or anybody else's house, it'll just never be the same. Like, you'll never be able to sit in a room with.
Yeah,
the animals would be okay with it.
Because it's so real, and when you see them, I mean, I have seen them in like maybe stately homes if I visit them in this country. You've been around and you've seen the deer antlers on the wall or their heads, and you just think, oh my God, it's just, they had a soul and they've just been put up on display, and maybe they're still in there, kind of. They're not, and I know they're not, but it's just sort of I wanted to bring that kind of creepiness into it, that sort of, you know, that horror side of it, that it's actually kind of really unsettling.
I had a girlfriend that loves to read, and I had her read along with me your story, and she got to the end, and she is a huge animal lover, has husky dogs. And he was telling me that there was a friend of hers in Tennessee, where she's from, so this might tell why this is the way that it is, that has had all of her dogs taxidermied.
Yeah, it's
so I read your story. I mean, I can't say the person's name, but the friend, I was just like, are you kidding me? And she was like, no. I was like, that's the weirdest. I know. That's not.
I suppose people do that with pets that they love. You know, they do. They can't let go of their pets, and that's no disrespect to them.
No,
That's
totally. But don't read this book. Like, you'll have a different feel when you get to the end about that, maybe, and be like,
yeah. It's I think people don't want to let go, do they, of their
Yeah.
pets, and that's kind of common over here as well. That does happen.
Oh, really? Okay, I've never heard of that before. When she told me that, that is some Tennessee stuff. I was like, I don't know, that's not happening anywhere else.
I've really heard of that happening here, definitely. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't do it personally. You know, I wouldn't want. Yeah, it would be too weird. But yeah, I'm glad it creeped you out.
Oh, it did. Oh, it was really well done. And like I said, as a device, so brilliant. Big and for a kid too, right? Because I think when I first remember seeing it at my aunt and uncle's house, they had done like game from Africa in different places, like a zebra head. You don't have to ask me how I feel about any of that. I think it's just But I remember as a kid looking up at that and just being like, oh wow. So I think for a reader that those things are going to land with them. Okay, well, we'll move on so we don't give away too much from that. But how far back have you mapped her family tree? Because I think in the story you go back to the 1800s, don't you?
I think it's the 1700s. So yeah, it's gone right. I have mapped it right back, which was no easy task. It was like a good few hours work of just going through all. So because in the second and third book, though, the backstory becomes more and more important.
You have to, I imagine, right? Like I assumed.
Yeah, there's more that comes out about the curse and where it originated from. So I have mapped it right back, so I know where it comes from, and who is where, and who was married to who, and what their death date was, and how many children they had, and yeah, it's quite detailed.
Wow.
I did it on Family Echo. Have you heard of Family Echo?
No, what's Family Echo?
It's just like you can map your family tree for free, and I have it there. So I've literally just mapped out the whole, right from Win, right all the way back to.
I'm going to do that today with my. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it was really good, and then at least now I've got it, and you know it's not absolutely set in stone because the book I may need to change dates or move things around. That's absolutely fine. I can do that. I can just change things. Nothing's been, you know, set at the moment. But yeah, it's there, so I know for reference that I've got it.
Cool. Aphrodite said Victoria's my kind of writer, and that's true. The family tree, that's an Aphrodite Lee thing. She does these workshops on her channel where she'll do character development that goes deep into the story. So talking about that a little bit, and I wonder now that I ask you this next question, knowing that the next two books are written and that I didn't think about, but yes, based on the ending, of course. So my original question would have been, will you ever write any prequels to this story to flesh out the stories of Win's ancestors? But I wonder, will you need to do that, or will their stories come out through the subsequent books?
What I'm going to do is I've already written. I would quite like to write some short stories that are based on, which maybe go into like a prequel collection that are just literally based on the first family that this happened to. So where the curse first started in the 1700s, and I've kind of written, I know who they all are, the sisters that live there, but it's just, I've got to I've done one story of the youngest member of the family, which is quite dark and again, quite disturbing, but I want to write, because obviously the older sister is mentioned in the book, which obviously the character of Vivian, who dies in, I can't say, but you know, that's already mentioned, one of those characters is already mentioned, but I think that's amazing. I really love doing anything like that, and also it's quite challenging to write like for a different time period as well, a completely different time, and researching that time period. And I love history, so to really get into that is so fun.
Wow. Okay, well that kind of answers that for me. So then what about there's some drama in the book as far as like family drama, which I love, and it's so YA. So the dynamics between Rowan and Win and her grandpa and her dad, are fascinating. What inspired those relationships? So I guess what I'm asking is, did the story inspire what happened there? If you were, as you were writing, did you kind of go, oh, we're gonna need some more here with Rowan to fill out her backstory, or was that planned? Do you know what I mean? Did you go into it knowing there was going to be so much butting heads between people?
Yeah, I think so. I think I kind of based it. I mean, every families just do terrible things to each other. They can just completely destroy each other. But yeah, at special occasions, we're all having to sit there and just kind of tolerate one another. Whereas a friend, you could just not see anymore. But with a family member, for instance, I have or did have my grandmother, and she had two sisters, and they were like these three really strong matriarchal figures of my family, and they would just be so cruel to one another at times. But I mean, actually, there's no cruelty between any of my characters. They all love each other.
It's definitely like family disagreements, miscommunications.
Yes, sort of family tensions. But with these particular, my family, they would just always be so mean, and then you couldn't say anything. But they were as thick as thieves. They absolutely were so strong as a family. You couldn't ever say anything about them. It was, blood is thicker than water, as they say. And so really, I just wanted to kind of weave those sort of experiences into the book, and none of the characters are mean to each other at all.
No. Well, I mean, Luke's kind of a jerk at the beginning, but again,
he is.
Readers figure that out as they read.
You can forgive him.
He'll redeem himself.
Yeah, he'll redeem himself.
So, did anyone in your life inspire any of these characters? Wynn, Rowan, Ella, Luke, any of the kids?
No, honestly, no. I just kind of came up with them on my own. I mean, maybe there might be some of certain family members in there, but really, honestly, no, they are creations of my own. I don't think I'd be able to say anything. Maybe my dad a little bit in John, his mannerisms maybe a little bit, but other than that, no, they were definitely all my own creation.
I can't remember, so just yes or no me before I get too far into this question, but what did we decide on discussion of the epilogue?
You can ask me a question if
okay.
you want. I can decline to answer if it is if I can answer it, but I want to.
The epilogue is a big reveal.
Yeah.
Big reveal. And it reminded me of, so I assume it's the setup for the second book. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes.
And before whoever goes to reads the epilogue first, you won't know what's going on if you do. So don't be silly. Read the whole thing. But so it's interesting to me are we seeing the setup to a enemies to lovers story? Because it looks that way from reading the book and then getting to that epilogue and being like, oh, wait a minute. Like, because I thought one thing was happening with Wynn and one character to be specific, and I thought, oh, something's like happening here with them. And then I got to that ending, and I went, which I don't know how I didn't see. Like when I read it, I went, oh, you should have figured this out by now. But when I got there and I read it, I kind of thought to myself, like, oh, this is going to be the setup for the second story, and it gives me like Romeo and Juliet vibe, or
forbidden romance. Yeah,
but the forbidden love trope, which is great. I love it, especially, and kids love it.
Me too. I love it. Yeah.
So is that where we're headed? Like, is that what we'll see in book 2?
Yeah, definitely. In book 2, Wynn's in a really different place. She's a lot stronger, and she's really settled, and she's very happy. And also that she has this love interest who is very mysterious, but she's very infatuated with, and it's about that, but who's not necessarily all that he seems.
Well,
No, definitely not. But it's about that kind of it's definitely, the second book is very much about sort of first love and, you know, infatuation, I think, which I love. I love it
too. And I think it's such a great idea, you know, and I'm writing in YA fantasy for kids, you know, for younger people too. So let me say this. I loved in the first book that the focus was really on more the friendship relationships for Win. Loved that. Because I think for YA, it's almost as if I feel like we get romance stories that are like set in fantastical worlds. They aren't really fantasies. You know what I'm saying? So I love that about this story. But I do think it's natural at 16, 17 years old is when you have those first loves and those messy relationships, I guess. So I kind of loved that you took it there that way, and I cannot wait to see where we go with Mr. Green Cape.
Yeah, the woodsman. Yeah, I really enjoy. Actually, I don't know why I didn't say he was one of my favorite characters. I completely forgot that he was in there.
He should have been. He's like lurking across the whole story, like
he's hiding in the trees. Like it was just. I didn't want to. He's not a stalker. I just kind of want to put that.
Well,
out
and let me say that. Let me just throw this out there because it won't mean anything to anyone that didn't read it.
No.
But I'm going to be honest. I thought it was Spencer. That's who I thought.
No,
Who I thought it was going to be. Like, so then obviously the ending to me was even more of like a what?
Yeah.
Because I was really thinking, I was like, oh, you know, I see what she's doing here. She's setting up this like love triangle-y thing where like Rowan and Spencer have this thing, and now so I was going a totally different direction of where you went. And
I kind of wanted to write a sort of which will become, you know, that will be in book 2, that there's always these families, these kind of warring families, and you have the Frasers and the Hickorys particularly, but then you have another family, this real like out in the woods family that has always been there and is they're a threat to these people, and they've been in hiding all this time because of this family. So there you go. I'm just gonna
we'll leave it. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to craft. But I so loved this story. I had to say I really deep down loved it. So you earned a fan in me.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, are you ready for a few craft questions before we get into that rapid fire? Need any water? You feeling good?
I will have a drink now.
Go for it. So I love the feud aspect of the story. We were just kind of chatting about it. So did you think of it as a plot device, or was it more of a vision when your vision when you were developing the characters and their backstories?
It was I think it was a vision of, you know, that's what I wanted, these warring families, like you say, a kind of a Romeo and Juliet vibe, and that, you know, families do terrible things to each other and feuds can go back years and years, and you know, we've always hated that family, or we've never got on with these people, and it kind of that's what I wanted to weave into the story. So yeah, it just kind of came about, and obviously Luke is part of that family, and that inherent hatred that has just been kind of bred into them over the years. That was kind of how I came about with that.
So the book has its own folklore. So did you create the folklore during your drafting process, and how detailed did it become?
Do you mean like the theory and that aspect of it? Yes.
Well, and even this might go into a little bit of the, I'm trying to think of how to say it without a spoiler. For instance, the thing that causes the curse, the thing that the family does that causes the curse that starts the whole thing.
Yeah.
So was that something that was like done in drafting, or was it something you kind of expounded on as you wrote?
It was both, really. It wasn't there at the beginning. I kind of came up with, there's got to be a reason as to why they were cursed in the first place. But it was done mostly in drafting, and I wanted to, it kind of was there, that sort of I did a lot of research on the different type of folklores that were, you know, that kind of came around at that time. So like, you know, I can't say the word, with shifter folklore and different things like that, and going right back into sort of like tribal folklore, that kind of thing. I did a lot of research into that and then kind of weaved it in from there. Sorry, I hope that answers the question.
I loved it. You nailed it. That was what I was aiming for. Was it borrowed or made? So it was something that.
Yeah, it was, both, because it was inspired by, I like things to have sort of it's kind of in reality that it's there, that we've heard of it before, and you know, these things are out there, and but I also, that I wanted to expand and make it my own in a certain way. And there was obviously the people that were affected by what happened. In the third book, it's kind of difficult to explain because it wasn't really anything to do with them. It's kind of expanded on in the third and second book, so you'll get more of that as it goes along, more about the curse.
Yeah, good. I can't wait to know more. So how long did it take you to write from idea to publication? Start crying because I have a draft that's finally going out to agents after 2 years. So go ahead and tell me.
Well, it was started this time last year. I do have the dates somewhere. I think it was started around probably April last year, beginning of April.
Published in December?
Yeah. Maybe that's too soon, though. I don't think that's. Maybe I should have waited longer.
No, that's talent. That's all skill. Sit and live in it, own it, love it. You should. I'm loving it for you. So we talked about the first person, third person. So we'll skip over that. And then we kind of talked about the setting, but I forgot to ask you this. Have you lived stateside or have you just visited over here?
Just visited. And I have to say, I visited like New York, and when I was working for a makeup company, I was really lucky to come out and visit in that area. But also more of I would love to visit the New England area. I would love to, where it's set.
Do it in the fall.
Yeah.
Drive in the fall. I'm just telling you, it'll change you. So last one for craft. What did you learn writing and editing this book that you will apply to all of your writing going forward?
Oh, I think just really, really thorough editing, and, you know, just really just taking your time and making sure that you've, you know, just kind of reading through everything. And I was really happy with everything, how everything went. I was really happy with the book, and I'm really, you know, really pleased with it. But I think just, you know, I don't feel like it was rushed or anything, but it was fast. It was quite fast. So maybe a little bit a longer time period on it, which is the book 2 has definitely had longer working on than book 1.
Cool.
So I don't regret anything, though. I'm really happy with it. So it
should be. It's really well done. I'm going to give you some fan love before we get into the rapid questions. So if you need more water, grab it now. Day said, I have mixed feelings about The Woodsman from beginning to the epilogue. Day, I agree with you. Although I will tell you, I loved those feelings until I got to the epilogue, and I went, what? But anyway, that was a whole experience. So true. Aphrodite said she has a Spencer in her story too. She does. Who also meets a tragic end. Bethany Vota, I'm a huge fan of The Woodsman. Warring Houses is my jam. Bethany says, honestly, the book was so cozy and atmospheric. I feel like I need a big sweater and a cup of tea when I read her stuff.
Oh.
Aphrodite said, you're twins. The Northeast is beautiful. She lives in the Northeast. She lives in Maryland. Aphrodite does. I want to go there for a month and just write my heart out. I do too. Okay, you know what time it is. It is time for the rapid fire. Are you ready?
Okay. Oh, right.
I'm going to make the first one easy, and you put it in my Instagram DM today.
Okay.
So we're both big nerds. DC, Marvel, and Disney. But let's stay in the DC Marvel. Let's stay in the comic universe.
Okay.
Any superhero, who would you be and why?
I could play any superhero.
Superhero.
It would be I think like Supergirl or Superman. Why not? Because you can fly.
Totally.
Yeah, and you're invincible. Okay. Yeah, I think. I don't know if I said that for me, but I think Superman.
Cool.
Or Supergirl. Whatever.
Okay. Now here are just rapid fire. So your shortest answer, whatever pops into your mind. There are no wrong answers. Are you ready? What
Yes.
quality do you admire most in people?
Honesty.
If past lives were real, what would be yours?
I think maybe, I don't know, a witch. Oh, that sounds really sad. No, I don't
No,
know.
I love that answer. I 100% was burned at Salem, so we'll leave that. Okay, we asked. Okay, so what is your favorite sin?
Lust.
What sin are you most willing to forgive?
Gluttony.
Me too. What are you most afraid of?
Oh God. Spiders.
There. What do you value most about your friends?
Loyalty, I think.
Me too. What's your principal defect?
I oh, I think maybe I'm too open sometimes. I give too much. Maybe I talk too much. There you go. Maybe I talk too much.
Fine. I'll
Yeah.
tell you when you talk too much. What are you currently reading?
Oh, oh my God, I can't think what it is. It's Holly Black's The Cruel Prince.
Oh, love.
Yeah, I just started it.
You're gonna love it. What's your favorite? Well, I hope you do actually. I don't know if you will, you may not. What's your favorite book? I think you told me earlier.
To Kill a Mockingbird, I think. Yeah.
Okay, this one's a naughty one, and you can answer it or not. You can say pass. What's your favorite curse word?
I'll pass. I don't want to say go something. I'm really sorry.
What are you most excited about for in 21?
Seeing my family. Going back to
What was your favorite subject in school?
history.
Really? What was your hidden talent?
Or art. I can draw a little bit.
If someone were to play you in a movie, who would it be?
Oh my God. I think, I don't know. Probably because we're the similar age, I'd like maybe Kate Winslet, I think. I love her. She's my star. She's my icon. I love her. So yeah, I don't think I look like her or anything, but that's who I
We would
love.
be friends because I love her too.
Yeah.
Okay, what is one thing your parents taught you that changed your life?
I think work ethic. I think I've always had that with my parents, a good work ethic.
What is the career you dreamed of as a kid?
It was to work in the theatre, makeup artist in the theatre.
What is one thing about you that would surprise people?
Probably that I am quite a nerd on the quiet. Star Trek nerd.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
It'll all be all right in the end. Don't worry so much.
What does success mean to you?
Just being my family, being comfortable and happy, and that would be what it means to me, I think.
Where is your happy place?
On my sofa, watching with my husband.
What quality do you most value in people?
Kindness, I think. Kindness.
If you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, what would they be?
Shy. I am very shy. Friendly and honest.
What makes you feel uneasy or anxious?
Doing stuff like this.
You're doing wonderfully and you're almost done. What is a dream that you have that you've yet to achieve?
I would absolutely love to have something traditionally published. That would be wonderful. I quite like the idea of being hybrid. So yeah.
Cool. What is one thing you would like to change about yourself?
Taller. Let's be taller.
Be able to reach high things.
Yeah, I'm really short. My daughter is 9 and she's taller than I am. She is.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, we missed a lot of comments, some 45 while we were gone. So we're going to pop back over to the comments. Folks, we are turning it over to live chat to ask the talented Victoria Wren all of the questions. I've got to find out where we were here. Let's see, Day. Interview was so great. Your inspiration. Oh, that's for you. That's lovely. Aphrodite clarified NE is New England. Sorry, I wasn't clear. Paul McCartney or John Lennon?
John Lennon.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Aphrodite Lee would be Gambit. Super villain Nova would be Magneto. I feel like all that tracks for both of them.
I forgot all the X-Men, but you said DC, didn't you?
Oh, yeah,
Did you
DC or it could have been DC or Marvel. So you can change it.
X-Men. Oh,
mine's easy. I would be Storm in a second. Like,
would you?
Oh, 100%. Loved Storm, obsessed with her. The only one I loved more was Jean Grey when she was bad, like Dark Phoenix Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So
I quite like Jubilee in the cartoons years ago. And Spider-Man. Why didn't I think of Spider-Man? I love
Spider-Man too.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying, folks. I'm way behind. I love them. Chronic illness. I'm not sure what they were talking about. Don't know where I'd start on the defect question. Well, Richard, think about it because I ask everybody that one. So work on an answer before it's your turn in the chair. Christmas Carol. I am not sure what they were talking about. Oh, Richard and I have the same curse word for a favorite. In fact, I like to use that one with lots of other words.
Yeah, I do curse a lot, mainly when I drive. Mostly in the car. It comes out in the car. It's terrible.
Same. Wait till you're teaching your daughters to drive.
Oh God, no. I know. Too much.
Okay. Adam Sandler's who's super villain Nova would want to play him. Don't trust your family. I wanted to be a storyteller. Nobody's better than you are.
That's what you would give your that's the one which you asked teenage. Yeah.
That's great advice. Everything for the same reason. Here we go. Bethany, are you excited for your future work to come out?
Yes, very much. Yeah, definitely. There's so much more to come. I just feel like I just enjoyed writing book 2 and 3. I just absolutely loved it. So I really would love to see people's reactions to the rest of the story.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm stoked. Okay, I'm trying to scoot ahead, people, to see if we can get down to your questions. I'd like more self-discipline. Here's a question: who's more gangster, Rick Ross or Bob Ross? Do you know who either of those are?
No, I don't.
Okay, Bob Ross is this painter on PBS over here that died a number of years ago. He had an afro and like taught people to paint. Right. He was really like mild, and so there's a lot going on in that question. Here's one that I need to know the answer to: pineapples on pizza, yay or nay?
Yeah, I like it. I like pineapple on pizza.
Me too. You can stay. Yeah.
Sweet. I like things that are sweet. So.
Me too. Okay, I'd like more self-discipline, more comments. I came in very late. Here's one: hot dog, sandwich, or taco?
Hot dog.
Oh, you do have a little Americana in there. Okay, I think we have caught up to the questions. So I'm going to leave it to you all to now ask questions. I think we got through them all. So ask away what you want to know of the lovely and talented Victoria. I had a couple I'm going to ask just while I'm thinking about it. Are you nervous or excited about when it's your daughter's turns to read your work?
Yeah, a little bit nervous. I would say, yeah, I would, of course, yeah, absolutely. But I'm pretty excited for them to read it. My daughter is 9 and she's read quite a lot of Harry Potter. She's reading the Artemis Fowl books at the moment. She loves
books. Tell her to not try that Disney movie on that. She'll be very disappointed in the adaptation.
Yeah, I've heard that. So I really, I'd love her to read them, and I would love. My 6-year-old has already told me she's designed a character because she loves the character art. My little girl, she sees the character art that I have had done by Tia, and who's my cover designer, and she's now done a picture of this bizarre stripy-haired tiger girl that she wants me to somehow fit in. I was like, yeah, of course I will. I'll write her in. She can be like a love child somewhere, maybe 20 years. And she's like, Mummy, have you written my character in yet? I'll get right on that. But yeah,
it's in development.
yeah, it'll get there eventually. And she's like, I want you to get the lady to draw her. Can you get the lady to draw her? I was like, I'm not paying to get that drawn out.
Mommy's made of money.
Yeah.
So Eva asks a great question. You get a call from someone's agent and they want to talk to you about ghostwriting their next book. Which renowned author would you hope it would be?
Oh,
great question.
That is a good question. I'll tell you who it would be. You know, I mentioned her earlier, L.J. Smith, the writer of the Vampire Diaries. Yeah. Now, she wrote a series called the Night World series.
I haven't read those books.
It was fabulous. I loved it as a teen. I think I read it in my 20s. I just still loved it. But she wrote 10 books. Well, no, she wrote 9 books, and she has written the 10th book, and it has never been released. Never been released. The blurb is there, and over the years, like when I was a kid, I went into like the bookstores and said, please, can we find out when this is coming out? I think it's been 25 years or 20 years. So I want to write, that would be who I would write for. I wanted to finish the series, and I'd finish it for her.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a great answer.
That's mad. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's who I would do.
Super Villanova says, how do you get away with not knowing who Bob Ross is? Doesn't live in the United States, so like no PBS. Do you have a secret back burner project in mind that you haven't talked about?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if it will be a slightly darker YA series, set in England this time, Victorian England, and it's going to be paranormal. And I'm just in the early stages of it's about a lady or who wants to be an actress, but it's about a traveling theatre of occult kind of characters that may or may not have existed in real life. So it's really bizarre. It's all there.
Oh, but that sounds great fun.
Yeah, something fun and quirky. So Victorian, and because I love that, like the Jack the Ripper, the dank Victorian, nasty side of London, Whitechapel, but also really quirky and quite modern at the same time. The tone to be quite modern. So I'm working on it. It's getting there. Who knows?
I love that. Okay. The Richard Holiday has a wonderful question. If you were to write a nonfiction, what would it be about? I really love history. I really love history. So it would probably be something to do with the Tudors or the Tower, something, I'm really drawn to that. It's quite disturbing, and, the Queens and things like that of Henry VIII, maybe something like that. I don't know. I love anything like that. That's fun. Eva wants to know if you have a favorite poet.
No, I don't, but there's a guy on Instagram that I've been following, and he's called Blake Auden. I don't know if you've heard of him. And it's really, it's just love. Some of his poetry is just so touching. It's love. Yeah. So he's
one more time. Blake Auden?
Blake Auden. So I think it's Auden, Auden.
E-D-N. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Really,
really nice.
Aphrodite said, I wrote teen-friendly versions of most of my work so that my younger kids can read them. Would you ever consider middle grade versions of your tales?
Yeah, I would love to. I would really love to write something middle grade, something for my daughter's age.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's so many ideas out there. I mean, at the moment, are you writing middle grade, or are you writing?
I'm writing YA, but I'm going traditional publishing path. So it will be like a book a year from this YA series. So the advice I was given by the first agent I talked to, and then my editing partner, had said to me, you know, think about writing down a category as a way to get around your contract, to be able to shop a new project. Make sure your agent writes your contract specific to your category in your universe.
Yeah.
So you can write down. So I do intend to write middle grade, plus they're shorter. So, you know, you can, the idea of writing something in 40 to 60,000 words as opposed to 60 to 80 is.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really appealing, and keep writing down as well. But there's so much possibility for children, isn't there? There's so much.
Yes. And that age, oh my God, I still think the middle grade age is the most wondrous for watching little readers. Because in my experience working with kids that got into books, it's that age where they find a story that resonates with them, that then you see the little light bulb go off in their head of, I want to read the next book. What's the next, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Richard wants to know, where do you get the names from? What's a surprising source? I'm gonna need my reading glasses.
Where I get the names from, I like, particularly for my characters in this book, I wanted to have old names, like really old names.
I love Winifred. Loved that name.
Yeah, I love Winifred as well. That kind of came from, I don't know if you ever used to watch Buffy or Angel, the character Fred, and her full name was Winifred, but I quite liked Win. But I equally love Fred as well. But I like old-fashioned names. You know, my daughter
has a Winifred too.
Yes.
Winnie.
Yeah, Winnie. That is my favorite. I love that film. I absolutely love that film. I actually did this online tour where you could go around the areas where it was filmed. I absolutely love that movie so much.
I meant to ask you this, and since Richard's up on the screen, this is a great time because often you guys joke with Bethany and Kent about the British to American words.
Yeah.
So in reading your story, one of my best friends here is from Manchester, lived in Manchester till she came over here to nanny and then stayed. So a lot of the words I've learned, you know, British words from her. Yeah. But I only caught one in the entire book. So I'm wondering, and that was boot in place of trunk.
Oh, God.
So I'm wondering.
Boots. I thought I got rid of all the boots.
I can tell you where it is because I was reading it and I went, boot. But then as I was reading it, I thought there's a lot of words here that you probably had to Americanize or you know, switch. Did you have an editor that was American or like?
Well, I obviously Bethany beta read for me.
Gotcha.
And she was awesome at saying. She said, she actually said, what is a boot?
Well, see, I'm used to Heidi because my friend she's in the wedding business too, makes cakes, beautiful artistic cakes. And so I'd helped her deliver. And the first time I went to help her deliver, she said, I'm going to need you to put that in the boot. And I was like, have you been drinking? And she was like, what do you mean? It was like, how am I going to put that in a boot? She's like, it's the trunk, you idiot. And I was just like, oh, okay, I get it. The boot of the car. Got it.
Damn, I thought I had gotten rid of all those boots.
No, there's only one. So but I saw it and I went, boot, trunk.
Yeah. It is, definitely having, it's amazing actually how many there are. There's so many American things that we say differently. And
aluminum. Aluminum's the one Richard's real sensitive about.
It's his passion. He's passionate about that. Aluminum. I don't probably even say. I've a very strong Essex accent. I say aluminium.
Aluminium. That's probably the right way.
Do you reckon? I don't know. I'll probably get told off now, but that's how I say it.
I'm just scared to go down and see Richard be like, that's not right. Okay, we're getting down. People are saying thank you for the recommendations on the poet. I write new adult. My little ones are curious. Do the young adult story, middle grade version, published in years down the lane. Oh, here he is. Aluminium. There it is.
Yeah.
Well, I tried. Wilhelmina and Patience. I do love those names.
Oh, Patience is a lovely name.
Lift for the elevator.
Yeah, lift, and obviously sidewalk and pavement.
Right.
And It's different. There's loads of different ones. It's not
Right.
until you have an American read it that they can point out
Yeah.
different things, and it's the different spellings as well, which is really confusing. But
It's just super easy, you know, and had to have our own like measurement system, and I mean we're a mess over here. It's what? So you did have an American editor. You did use, or Bethany was someone to kind of watch and read for the words. Gotcha. Because I was wondering, because there are a lot of words that are different, and so I just wondered as I read through, like, you know, who was watching you?
Yeah, they were, and I think as well, Kent has read the second book for me, and he was brilliant. And I think he did say, like, which is really good with him, that he could point out things like with like the sports side of things and things that maybe I didn't pick up on, and like the games of basketball and things like that. And it's, you know, I'm definitely going to be more on that for the second and third, but or maybe just not write about it. Then I won't get in trouble.
Save the energy. What will surprise readers of the first book in the second?
What will surprise? There's a new character in the second who comes into Rowan's life and has a very positive effect, can't speak, on her. But we don't know if she's entirely trustworthy, and Win is not in 100% trusting of her. She's quite suspicious. So yeah, that's something that will surprise people in the second book. And there's a little bit of naughtiness in the second book. A little bit of, you know,
bring it.
Bit of kissing and other stuff.
I mean, you kind of have to, right? I mean, because at that age, kids are like, you know, figuring stuff out. I don't think we could probably get away with like writing a whole, like, more than that on the page.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It's really hard actually to judge that correctly, because like you said earlier, it's, you know, I try to write the sort of the visceral side of it and things that are quite disturbing, but you also want to write things that are nice and, you know, bring a bit of a sauciness, whatever.
More of the, when I think about the stories in the series that grab hold of me, usually it's the ones that make me uncomfortable, that like get their claws in me a bit more. So I would say if it makes you uncomfortable, go ahead and write it. You'll have an editor somewhere along the way who'll be like, maybe not. Or Tony.
Yes. But I think if you're going to write the more disturbing stuff, it's good to have to have the nice stuff as well, and to have the sort of the affectionate side, and, you know, because like you say, teenagers are, you know, they're coming into their own at that time, aren't they? They're having relationships, and, you know, it's hard to judge. So I hopefully book 2 isn't too risque. I'll put the age rate up. That's all I can.
Would you be willing to allow them to be adapted? If someone approached you wanting to adapt them for some sort of multimedia, would you be open to that?
What you mean? Well, yeah, I suppose.
You would? Okay. No, yeah, I just wondered. Some authors, I know a few authors who are like, never, I wouldn't want to lose control and all that. So I was just.
Oh, do you mean like to sort of another author to come in and write?
Or sell the rights for a producer to produce into film or television where they control the screenplay?
That would be like my wildest dreams, and I would.
Oh, okay, cool.
I would never have even dreamed. I think I'd have to sell a lot more copies for it to get noticed. But yeah, that would be amazing. But obviously, I would like to retain some. You know, I'd like to continue to write it. If the series was over. And finished, I would like to be able to sort of go and say, no, I don't want that person to do it. I don't want that person cast, or I think it should look more like that. But then how much control can you have if you sign it over? You've lost it, really, haven't you?
Yeah, it depends. It depends how much you give away. Okay, gotta run. See you later, Mr. Vlandis. Good seeing you. Thanks for coming. I love his videos. I've got to read his book too. It's on my TBR. Write the screenplay now, so when they hit you up, you're ready for them.
Oh, okay. Maybe I need to speak to Aphrodite about that, because I've never written a screenplay before. I've never done anything like that. So I would know where to start.
Yeah, you should find each other on Instagram or something. Yeah. It's a different kind of art. I did theater growing up, so I'd written plays and stuff in high school. So screenplays are similar. It's similar to novel. I think it'll be easier for you because there's less. You're not showing. It's truly dialogue. It's all dialogue and visual cues. But yeah. So Richard says, my attitude to the I don't want to lose control argument depends on the number of zeros there is in the check.
Yes, absolutely agree.
And does the check clear?
Yeah, it does. It's like it's wildest dreams. I mean, that would be amazing, but we'll see.
She says, girl, I will help you with that. I shoot films every year. All I do is write. That's true. She is a solid writer. So yeah, you guys should find each other on Instagram or something.
Definitely.
Look at me networking right here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a genre you would never write in? Last night on his thing, which I loved, he said, I don't think I'll ever write a romance. So is there a genre that you say, nope, that's out of my wheelhouse?
I think I don't never say never. I would probably not write. I don't think I would write science fiction. Even though I do love science, I don't think I would write it. My husband is a huge science fiction fan, and I just don't know if I would write it though. And maybe like erotica, maybe. Oh look, there you go. We literally.
I was waiting for it. I saw it pop up, and I thought, oh, there it is.
I've seen erotica. I've read some, but
I've read it. Aphrodite has a pen name that she writes it under, and again, I've read erotica, sure, but like the idea of writing on a page kind of terrifies me.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, like my mom reads literally everything I write, so whether I want her to or not. So like the idea of mom going, I'm not so sure about that. Like I
wouldn't want my mum to read that.
Love it. Can't write it. Science fiction is great fun. Doesn't always have to be spaceships and lasers. That's true. Yeah. That's true.
This is true. Yeah. No, I think that, like you say never. I think if an idea is there and a story is there, you can adapt and you can write in those different genres. But I think, again, you probably need to be quite well read in those genres that you're writing. My husband he loves science fiction, and I love watching science fiction.
And I love science fiction TV. I'm not sure I could write it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could. I don't think I would do it justice the way other people.
The world building is different to me. Like, like, you know what I mean by that? Like for whatever reason, it feels more intimidating to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, intimidating is probably the right word, actually. Yeah, definitely.
Huh. Okay. What about, is there anything you'd ever want to do a retelling of?
Oh,
you ever thought like, oh, I'd love to, retell that.
Retell it. Oh my God, there's so many. I love fairy tales. There's been so many retellings of Beauty and the Beast, haven't there? But that's one I absolutely love, and maybe something different than that.
I've always thought, I love the idea of some of those, and you might be able to do this because you do write creepy very well. But I thought, my husband bought me this book, the original fairy tale, the Brothers Grimm fairy tale. Yeah. And as I was reading it, I was so shocked, and this is the American in me who grew up Disneyfied. I had no idea how dark all those stories were. Like really dark. And I thought, this is a missed opportunity. Like, people should almost take some of these stories, take the version and make them dark again. Like, take it to that.
Because they're cautionary tales for children, aren't they? I mean, they're really, not very nice. And like in Snow White, I think that, the Wicked Queen had sort of 3 attempts at I think it was combs and her bodice stays, and then finally the apple. And then when Snow White and the Prince got married, they made her dance on hot coals until she died. And I was like, this is just awful. It's just the worst thing. You would never tell your children. And actually, it's funny, my daughter, when she was in year 1, like sort of the second year of school, she was reading Red Riding Hood. And like, it was quite graphic, actually. Well, the version that and I was like, that's really... should they be doing that? Should they be telling that story to children? But then kids sort of eat it up, don't they? They love it. Yeah. They do love it.
I think it kind of reminds me, especially now that I rewatch some of the things I loved as a kid, there's so much I missed. I mean, do you know what I mean? As a kid, I think there's some they missed too, that like, it's just, it goes over them.
Exactly. Yeah, it does.
Where like, as the adult, we're reading that like, ooh, really? Like,
yeah, and they're tougher than you think they are. They're a lot tougher, and you know, I think that's interesting. With when I wrote Knock Knock for the Season of Darkness anthology, a couple of the beta comments I had was, I don't think some people said, I'm not sure a little girl would think that or would say that, and I was like, but I know they would. I know, I've got a 9-year-old, I've got a 6-year-old, and I know what goes on in their minds and how they think and what they'll come out with. And, you know, never underestimate children. They totally listen in. My 9-year-old has got the biggest ears. She listens to everything and then repeats it when you least want her to. But yeah, they
you gotta be careful when you drive.
I know. I should have a swear jar, yeah, for the car. But yeah. So, but when you said about retelling, the only thing I would love, and I don't think that I love To Kill a Mockingbird. That's my favorite book. I would love to see the film redone, a different version of the film.
Me too.
I love the original film in the 60s, and I think he was a perfect casting, but I would love to see a different version of that for this era. And I can't believe they haven't done it.
I think there's some great ways to update it too. I mean, you know, it wouldn't take much to bring that, or at least here in America with what's going on politically, social justice wise here, it would not take much to take that story and make it just as relevant now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't, because it is such a really powerful story, and because there were some scenes in the book that never made it to the film, for whatever reason they chose to go down, and I just think they were so important. They should have been included. But yeah, that's the only thing. But that's film. It's not really a retelling of a.
Well, you know, and Aphrodite said Harper Lee. That's what I wonder. I think Harper Lee's still alive, right? So it's probably because.
No, I don't know if she is.
Harper Lee's alive, because if she's alive, then the rights would still have to go through her. So it could be that she's not selling the rights.
It could be, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She could be holding those until. Whereas if she's passed, then they've got an amount of time until it's in the public domain where it can be. Yes. Can be tinkered with. Okay, Richard Holiday said, one of my favorite books is The Rats by James Herbert. I'd love to see a great film or TV adaptation. Such a visceral little book. I don't think I know that one.
No, I don't know that one.
I'm gonna have to look that up, Richard.
Yeah.
Aphrodite said, oh, I don't think she's dead either. I think she's still alive. I agree, Aphrodite. The Fog by James Herbert. Yeah. Amazing book. The gym scene sticks in my mind. I don't know the Fog either.
I think I've seen the film of The Fog.
Okay. I believe Her Family Has Control. Okay, yeah. So that's probably, I imagine that's the retelling.
She actually really loved the version that came out. I think she absolutely loved, from what I've watched documentaries, and I think she loved Gregory Peck as Atticus. And I think that maybe, I just think that I think they've actually done a play. I think they had a play of it. But maybe done.
Okay, Richard says James Herbert was basically the British Stephen King. Oh, interesting. Okay, very interesting. Sadly passed away. Okay, very sad. Is Rats connected to Wilbur and Ben? Don't know. That's a Richard question. What are your girls reading?
So my little one. She's 6, and she's only really just started reading. She took a long time to get the hang of it. So at the moment she's reading like some like a Disney book. She's getting that, all the fairy magic, rainbow magic books. They're like
yeah,
little books. And then Eva is reading at the moment. She's just read. Do you have an author? Do you know of an author called David Williams in the US?
No.
He's an amazing children's author. He's like, it's very similar to Roald Dahl. His sense of humor.
Roald Dahl, who made me want to be a writer.
Yeah, he is. It's very, very similar, kind of that kind of gritty, you know, kind of, it borders on being a little bit uncomfortable for kids. You know, his books like called The Demon Dentist and The Boy in the Dress, oh my God, there's so many. Gangster Grandma. There's loads of them.
Oh yeah, okay.
But he's an amazing writer, and she reads everything that he brings out, everything. You've got, like, he does a collection every now and then, like the world's worst teachers, the world's worst parents, and they're like these really horrible like stories that are very reminiscent of Roald Dahl. So you should.
I'll have to check that out, because I would love that. Roald Dahl is, to me, the master class of writing for little people, because he just could, you know, make stories. Just the other day, my sister was here, and Matilda was on, and we were watching it, and we were talking about the book. And when we finished the movie, she said, it's pretty close to the book. I said, yeah, pretty close. She's like, that's pretty dark for kids. Like, that's for kids meant like 7 to 11 reading age. You know, she's like, let's see, she's adopting herself away. Her parents hate her, don't like her, borderline abusive, neglectful. The Trunchbull is definitely someone that should never be around children. Like, everything about it is so dark. And I said, but it works so well. And kids, to them, it's very real and believable. Like, when you think about the idea of Trunchbull picking up Lavender and throwing her out the window, you think, well, as an adult, it's almost like we go, that could never happen. But as a kid, you think like, oh, that could totally, you know.
It's horrible. And the poor boy that had to sit, the boy that I can't remember his name, no, it's not Augustus. That's Charlie.
Who has to eat the cake?
Eat the cake, yeah.
Oh, yes, what is his name? Hang on.
Bernard or...
I'm gonna have to cheat and look it up. So, this is when I need someone to help me and tell me, like, what is it?
With the boy's name. And the chokey, getting put in the chokey.
Oh, the chokey is like the best device. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but
Bruce Boxer.
Yeah.
Bruce
That's it. I knew it was a Bruce or a Bernard or something like that. Yeah. David Williams is right. He's a comedian. He was first and foremost a comedian over here, and he wrote with Matt Lucas, Little Britain, and I don't know if you've seen any of those. So David Williams always played like alongside Matt Lucas, and then he just has started writing these books. He just produces like you wouldn't believe. The books are just, there's like 3 or 4 a year what he brings out, and he writes for very little, and then he writes middle grade as well, and they're fantastic.
I'll have to check him out. That sounds really awesome. Aphrodite has a cool idea. Victoria, I wrote fairy tales for my kids throughout the years. You can write stuff for your littlest as she grows in her reading. Yeah,
that's a nice idea. Cool. Yeah.
There's an argument to be had whether celebrity authors like David Williams, so is it Williams? Is that how I would say it? Williams?
Yeah.
Take shelf space that new emerging authors could have.
Yeah, it is true. He's obviously, he is a celebrity. He was a celebrity before he wrote. But obviously, I'm coming from it from a kid's point of view. They just lap it up. I mean, I don't know. Do they have ghostwriters? Do they have people to, craft that sort of, that's what he wanted to do? And
yeah, James Patterson style, maybe that would be, I feel like if it was more James Patterson style of paying a ghostwriter, I'd be more like, I don't know. But if he's actually writing it, I'm kind of like, well.
I think he's obviously very talented. But like, I do agree.
It does take, you're absolutely right. The other one that I think of, Richard, here in the States, I don't know if you guys had this show abroad, but there was a show here by Ryan Murphy called Glee that was about, did you have Glee?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, cool. So there was an actor named Chris Colfer who played the gay kid on the show. Anyway, he is writing books now for middle grade and YA, and he's made the bestseller list and done quite well. But probably same argument, Richard, that, you know, if he were not on Glee, like, would he have gotten that contract? And I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know. So good points. Good point.
Yeah.
Kids escape through dark. It's weird, but true. That is true. Oh God, I just see that cake scene. That cake. Oh yeah, and where the cook.
It's just gross. Yeah.
Lunch.
So we love it though. The kids love it.
A little confection. Oh, absolutely. Roald Dahl. So do you read with your kids?
Yeah, I mean, with my older one, she just gets on with it. It's terrible. She also loves her fat books and, you know, space books and everything else. She loves those sorts of things. But generally, I sort of leave her to it. She's read about 3 of the Harry Potters now. She's not gone on to the 4th one yet.
Well, the 4th one's when it starts to become a doorstop. Like that's when,
that's
less J.K. Rowling. But that is a point where I'm like, was there no developmental editors who were like, we could cut like whole sections of this?
Yeah, it is a bit of a chunk of a book. But yeah, I do with my little one. We do try to, because I think that's a nice time, isn't it? It's a nice time of the day, and with them. You know, to let them sit there and, you know, to be with them and read with them. But yeah, and obviously right from birth, reading is so important. Agreed. Yeah.
Richard says, a few years ago, a YouTuber called Zoe Sugg got in hot water as it transpired her debut novel was Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not cool.
Yeah. I wonder if a lot of the celebrities that write their autobiographies, they do probably get a lot of help.
Yeah, and in fact, my editor that I hired is a personal friend, but worked at a acquisitions editor for a big 5 publisher for a long time. Most of her business is ghostwriting. So, and 90% of it, she said, is prominent people who are not writers, who are telling their story, usually. So it's more nonfiction than fiction. Yeah. I actually can't imagine ghostwriting fiction. Can you? I think it'd be quite difficult to figure out how to make something not my voice.
Exactly. Yeah, really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Kind of.
It's different because you're just writing for that person, aren't you? And kind of get in their head.
That'd be really hard. I heard they're good, but you're right. I doubt if anyone would know about them if not popular. This is the Chris Colfer talking about his books. I've read one. They are good. But yeah, that's tough because it's like, I don't know if it would happen if they weren't celebs. How have you felt the pressure on us writers to build an author platform? How has that been? How do you feel about it? What are your thoughts?
I think it's the same as everything. Obviously, I already had a platform for my bridal work, and it's a very visual business, makeup. So I'm very used to putting out, you know, pictures and content and, selling yourself. So when it came to sort of doing it for an author platform, I have no problem with it. It's hard to gauge what's right, what's aesthetic and pretty versus what you actually are.
Yeah.
The content you're putting out it's hard. I never know if I'm doing the right thing, if it looks okay, if it looks
I think you've got a great platform from what I've seen. So I think you do a great job.
Oh, thank you. My website is the only thing I would like to get updated, and actually it's due for renewal. So fingers crossed I can get it tarted up a little bit and make it look a bit better. But at the time, I think it was just a case of having a website, and I picked something and ran with it, and I should update it at some point. But yeah, I like it, and it's an amazing. I've met some really lovely people like Day and the entire Discord group through.
I gotta get on. They invited me in the Discord. I'll be honest, guys, I don't know what I'm doing in it. So I don't know, I've gone in twice and I'm I don't know how to talk to people or so I've lingered a few times, but I don't know what I'm doing in the.
Are you in it? Are you on it? Are you on
it? Well, so Kent invited me when he was on and gave me the little link in or whatever. And so I can see you guys talking. I tried to talk one time and then it didn't work right, so I stopped. But I will get in the Discord. I noticed people were replying to specific things, and I don't know how to do that. So I was maybe I need to not do this on my phone, or I don't know.
No, I do it on my phone. To be honest with you, I think what's confusing is there's loads of channels and loads of different chats. So you've got like theatre chat, you've got movies, book recommendations. There's so many different chats, and it's kind of like I kind of go in on the ones that I know I'm general. I just go onto general and I look, and if I've been mentioned, I'll look at it. But it is great. Yeah, it's just.
Well, I will get into Discord more because I do know you guys are like networking on there a lot, and I know that's been really helpful.
Yeah,
so I will have to hop in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just a nice little group. And if anyone's got a problem or they want something read, you can just kind of hop on and say, can you look at this for me? And
do you attach files? Is that the deal?
No, I wouldn't attach files unless it's a picture or something.
Well, I get it. So you like email, you just say like, hey, if anyone has time to read this, shoot me your email. Got it.
Yeah. I wouldn't ever attach any think huge in there. Just like we had our own specific chat just for the anthology. So that was down the bottom, which is you can have private chat. So we kind of made that private so that everyone wouldn't have to keep being notified that this huge chat was going on. So, and to keep it a little bit secret as well.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah.
Well, I realize I forgot something. Bad me. I have 3 covers up to show off for you. Do you want to do that real quick? And I will pull them up so you can. Oh wait, that's not right. Look at me doing awesome.
3 covers.
Well, no, I put up Season of Darkness, Curse of Win Adler, and then the short story as well. So let me pull them up for you. I'm not as tech savvy as Adrian, everyone, so bear with me. Yes, I think success. Oh, so that's Season of Darkness. So when you guys are out there wanting to order, there's a link in the description for a Season of Darkness. Victoria has 2 stories, Knock Knock and Iron Heart. It's all by the Twisted 10.
Yeah,
there is the cover, so you know what you are looking for. Who did your all's cover design for that? Did you all do that?
It was Emily Oliveira. She wrote 2 stories for the Twisted 10 for the anthology, and she also designed the cover as well. So the whole thing was done by us as a group.
Wow. Oh, I went to the wrong one. Sorry, I jumped ahead. So this one is, why don't you tell everybody?
Well, okay, so this is my sort of announcement for the evening, but this is Wild Spirit, a collection of short stories, and I kind of took the plunge and I've written these short stories, and they are all kind of like behind the scenes, if you like little stories that involve all the different characters that you've already met, some that you haven't met yet, and it features lots of little teasers and Easter eggs for books 2 and 3, things that are written from different characters' point of view. There's 7 stories in there, and this is coming out on the 14th of May. So I've kind of I've set myself a little bit of challenge to do it, but they're all written. I'm just kind of editing them at the moment.
Perfect. Exciting.
Also, if anybody, the pre-order link is on my Instagram, so it's there, it's all ready to go. So if anyone does pre-order this, there's a giveaway going on. So if you do pre-order, just let me know that you've pre-ordered it. Just email me or drop me a line or somehow let me know you've pre-ordered it. And there's a giveaway where you can win a signed copy of my first book.
Yeah. Well, I am definitely going to pre-order today. And then the last one I wanted to show so people know when they go to buy Wild Spirit, The Curse of Win Adler, they know what they are looking for. Boom, there is the cover, which I love. So who did this for you?
Her name's Tia. Oh, I can't. Her last. It's Nick. I think it's Nicolai. So, and she was on Instagram, but she's disappeared off. I don't know what's happened for her Instagram. Some reason she can't post, but she now works. So I found her through Readsy. So you can find her on Readsy, and I found her, and she was the only person that I contacted. I kind of wanted a drawn cover, like an art cover, rather than it being a
image.
Yeah, an image, stocky. Nothing wrong with those.
Yeah.
They're beautiful covers, but I knew what I wanted for this one, and she came back straight away, and I didn't even bother going to anybody else. I just loved And when she sent this to me, I just was blown away. I couldn't believe. I was
Love
so
it. You're getting all kinds of love about your covers.
Yeah, she's just amazing. But now she works with Enchanted Ink Publishing. So have you heard of Natalia Lee?
No.
No, she's an indie author. She has a YouTube channel, but she's also an editor. And her partner Greg formatted the paperback for this book, for my book.
Oh, cool.
And they found her, which is really nice, actually. I was really thrilled that they now have hired her as their cover designer. So that's amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was really pleased. So she now, if you want her, you can go through Enchanted Ink, or I think she's still on Readsy. She's amazing.
Very stunning.
Thank you.
As we get to the end of your time, how do you feel? Do you have anything you want to throw out there or say? Or
no, I can't believe that went so quick. That was amazing. Thank you. No, I've had a lovely time. Thank you so much for making me feel so ease. Yeah, thank you.
Every time you have a book, we'll just do this again and you know, hop on here and pump them up and let people know it's coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've got a great bunch of people that showed up for you, that got lots of love for you.
Oh, they've been lovely. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming to play. I appreciate you so much. I am going to throw up a few of these last. Day says, was a lovely interview. Thank you, Day. Richard, great interview. Thank you. Dina, she looks beautiful. Dino, yes, she does, doesn't she? All right, guys. Well, I am going to cut this off so we can let Victoria get to bed, because over there it's what, 10, 11?
It's 11, but the clock, it's 10 o'clock because the clocks went forward. So I spend the whole time going, it's not really that time of day, but yeah, it's fine. I've still got a few hours in me.
Okay, good. Well, I didn't want to keep you up way past your bedtime. Everyone, I so appreciate you. Thank you for joining, everybody. I appreciate you so much and look forward to seeing you the next time we do one of these live chats.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And if you hang on just a second, we'll talk on the other side. Bye, everybody.
Bye.